Great news. There's a quick way you can save money. Switch to Geico. Geico could help you get great coverage at a great price. And it only takes 15 minutes to see if you could save 15% or more on car insurance. Go to geico.com today and see how much you could save.
Good Wednesday morning, everybody. Welcome into another edition of Golic and Wingo. Glad you're with us. Mike Golic Jr., not Mike Golic, Trey Wingo here. How are we, boys?
Golic. Again,
Yeah.
It's not Golic.
Golic?
You're Mike Ryan, the producer of Stugatz and Le Batard and that whole thing down there. It says Golic.
I like Golic. It sounds better.
But it's not Golic.
But it's more Golic.
I just like that you got the name of their show right. It's the Stugatz Show featuring Dan.
That's exactly right. That's where I went, yeah.
But, right, don't you feel like Golic sounds like a good James Bond
I like
villain?
calling my name the way it was Golic. Wingo. Don't do that.
That's terrible.
Wingo.
No, but see, the each makes it like you got an edge.
I want it like Wingu, like the Geaux.
I am Wingo.
Like it's spelled like the
Louisiana Wingos.
Louisiana.
Yeah.
There you go. Right.
The Louisiana Wingos?
The
there
Pine
you go.
Louisiana Wingos.
There you
the
go.
Louisiana Wingo.
I just think you should think about this because you guys would be the perfect Bond villain. 007, we must get rid of Golic.
I'd like to be a villain in a movie.
I'd like to be a Bond villain, especially the new the Idris Elba. Now that he's officially James
Is
Bond.
it Idris?
he is?
I always
Idris?
called it Idris.
Is it Idris?
Or Idris?
Whatever.
We'll get into.
Hey.
Brett's our researcher here today, so give it up.
Brett finally
First
decides
appearance.
to show up for work again in the first time.
Idris Elba. Idris Elba.
It's Idris.
Come on. It's
Idris.
Idris. I
Elba.
think we know why Brett showed up. It's Wednesday and it's Bretymology.
Bretymology.
I mean,
that is correct.
literally, just a contract killer at this point. Like he shows up for his one segment and then for the rest of the week can't be bothered.
By the way, back to Idris. Phenomenal pick.
Yeah.
I love the guy.
Why do we wait so long to do this?
I love that dude. So I think it's a great pick. But I want to be a villain. I've said it many times. I want to be a villain in a movie and I want to be killed. I want to be blown up, beheaded, something grotesque.
I want to lit on fire.
Maybe what happened to the MMA guy. I want to drill in my
Listen,
pants.
we are going to tell you why you should never put power tools in your pocket today.
Yeah.
Okay?
That's a little tease, but I think you can kind of understand where that one's going to go.
Yes, and it's not in a nice place.
No, it's not. No.
I got one of our people that works on the show texted me this story. I'm like, oh, click on it. I'm like, oh, no, I don't want to know about this.
Yeah, man, when you see the picture associated with that.
There's a picture?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I haven't seen the picture.
I haven't seen the picture.
We've got bloodied undergarments.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's the tease. We'll talk about it later. A power drill in a man's pocket where two became one.
What could possibly go wrong? Listen, that's better than a triple shot of espresso to get you going on this morning.
Wow.
We are presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. You can get in touch with us, the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed at Golic and Wingo, or call in 860-506-5505. There is lots to discuss, including why you have a underwear spokesman shirtless with a tiger, which makes for a very interesting Wednesday around these here parts. Clearly, we got a lot to get to, so let's get started with what's trending. And the Yankees won in Giancarlo Stanton's homecoming, and this was the sound in Miami when Giancarlo stepped to the bat for the first time against the Marlins since being coming over and being a part of the Yankees in the offseason.
Out here is Stanton. Oh, listen to this. How wonderful. A standing ovation for Giancarlo.
He was talking about, and he's turning around and waving to everybody. He did say he never had a chance to say goodbye.
That really is a standing O.
And that, of course, on WFAN, Giancarlo went 2 for 6 with 3 strikeouts. The Yankees won the game 2-1, but Mike, there might be a bigger loss here. Aroldis Chapman had to leave the game with pain in his troublesome left knee.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that in a second. As far as Stanton, this is a team that averages in the Marlins under 10,000 people a game. So Stanton shows up and they get about 16,000 more. Was it, Brett said 26,000 at this game. So it actually sounded like a bit of a crowd instead of just family and friends clapping, and you hear the echo of the clap. So good for him. I mean, that guy has meant so much to that organization. He certainly didn't ask to leave. We know of the purging that's gone on down there. So that was a nice moment there. And then, Trey, to your point of Chapman, he's had the tendonitis in his knee. He's managed it all year, but got 6 pitches in, waves to the – never good when your pitcher throws a few pitches and then waves the manager out from the dugout, you know things can't be good.
Well, and with a guy like Chapman who comes in that relief role and is basically there to throw a handful of pitches as fast as he possibly can, usually we see him up in triple digits, average 96 for his 6 pitches. Lowest since 2013. These guys are like the engine on a drag racer where if the slightest thing is off, all of a sudden your output is affected in such a way that makes this guy a lot less effective out on the mound. So something to definitely monitor, because for all the talk about starting pitching, we knew the bullpen in this area of the Yankees pitching lineup was kind of what they were coming to rely on.
Yeah, the Yankees are now 33 games over 500 for the first time since 2011. They've won 4 in a row, and
they closed the gap.
Breaking news: the Red Sox have lost 3 in a row thanks to your Cleveland Indians.
Woo!
The lead is down to 8. Anything could. No, the Red Sox.
The story lost in all of this is the fact that my Cleveland Indians have won 9 of their last 10. The last 2 have been against the Boston Red Sox. Play that clock all you want, because I'm talking about
Get 'em out the paint.
My Cleveland Indians. Everybody talking about the Red Sox and the Yankees and the Astros.
Blah, 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 blah.
Watch the Indians be in the World Series yet again. At least I hope.
Watch out for the drones.
Watch out for the drones. Watch out for the drones, he says. All right, let's continue with more Major League Baseball, and everybody's talking about the Nationals fire sale. What's everybody talking about is brought to you by Lowe's, Pros in the Nose. Start with Lowe's. Go to lowesforpros.com for details. So the Cubs picked up second baseman Daniel Murphy from Washington for a minor league infielder and the ubiquitous player to be named later, or cash. And that's kind of like dealer's choice, right?
Isn't it true?
You want a player, or you just want to send money?
Yeah.
How do you
Here's
want to do
some cash
this?
for him.
You decide. Either way, the bottom line is it's going to be Daniel Murphy going from Washington. They've basically punted on the season. They've raised the white flag. They also dealt Matt Adams, who goes back to the Cardinals. But it's interesting. Daniel Murphy goes to Wrigley Field, and the friendly confines have been very friendly to him.
Oh, my gosh. At Wrigley Field, he's hit .413 for his career against the Cubs. Wherever they play, he's hit .325, but obviously in Wrigley, he's hit incredibly well. A guy who started the season injured, only played 28 games before the All-Star break, 28 games after the All-Star break, but those 28 games after have been a lot better, hitting .340 on that OPS of over 900. So he's playing well right now in a lineup that they just keep trying to build with the Cubs to make that run in the postseason. But kind of an interesting move. One even Murphy didn't think was going to happen.
Yeah, well, this is the nature of the waiver trade deadline, which we always make that distinction back around the All-Star break of the non-waiver trade deadline. And now usually these guys clear waivers, and Daniel Murphy thought, I'll clear waivers and it'll be business as usual. This is kind of the weird spot this franchise is in. We thought they might be sellers around the trade deadline. We heard all those rumors about maybe even moving Bryce Harper back then, and this has just been a team going back to the time when they fired Dusty Baker this offseason. I don't think has a clear understanding of what they're going to be going forward, and that's made all the more difficult by the prospect that your franchise player is also a free agent after this
Still
year.
7.5 back of Atlanta leading that division.
Yeah, and listen, Daniel Murphy, you have to love the way he approaches the game, because here's what he said when he found out he had been traded.
It's really bittersweet. Sat at this podium probably 2.5 years ago. The Washington Nationals were the only offer I had. And so they took a chance on me 3 years ago, and I feel very disappointed in myself that it kind of came to this point.
I mean, you want to talk about accountability. And, oh, by the way, he's hitting, 340 since the All-Star break?
Yep.
So he's doing his part. He's still saying it wasn't enough. And we talked about this when it happened in February. Remember when new Nats manager Dave Martinez brought out those camels?
Right.
Trying to get over the hump and win a playoff series? Like, you have to make the playoffs first. And we were like, let's just worry about making the playoffs first. And then, it looks like they're not going to get there.
Been an underachieving team, and you wondered when that window is slamming shut. And now you see Murphy gone, Bryce Harper going to be that free agent. The pitching staff been up and down with injuries. And then over with the Cubs, they're looking at, seriously, I really thought we were done with this stupid
play that
thing.
Button.
The Cubs, a team that's really lacked offensively as of late. So Murphy looking to help there. They've lost 3 in a row, not scoring a lot of runs. So looking to get that little jump by the end of the season.
Yeah, I'm really interested in what the Nats decide to do. This has been a town that's underachieved until this last year. What is the solution here, especially if they end up losing Bryce Harper? If they lose him this offseason, they're going to look back, and this will be considered an unmitigated disaster the way they've handled the transition this year.
Did you just say this is the town that had underachieved in Washington?
Except for.
Yeah! I could play that a million more times.
And I'm sure
Ovi's still having fun with the fact that they won the Stanley Cup for the Caps. As we continue what's trending, I mentioned this as well. The Nats also sent Matt Adams back to the Cardinals for cash considerations, and the Cardinals suddenly, guys, are only 2.5 games in back of the Cubs in the NL Central. Listen, when they fired Mike Matheny, I was like, this is a ridiculous move. It's turned out to be a great move for them.
Boy, it really is. I mean, they're hitting on all cylinders right now. As you mentioned, 2.5 back. They're the leaders in the clubhouse right now as the first wild card team. So a nice run by them, but still a nice race with the Cubs. Milwaukee 3 back of the Cubs. We keep talking about the races in the National League. I said the Braves up in the East. Phillies only 2 back. I just mentioned in the Central and the West. Diamondbacks at the top right now. Rockies a 1.5 back. Dodgers 3.5. San Francisco dropping out 8.5 back. Looks like Posey been missing games. Got that hip. Probably going to shut it down. I have surgery there, but great races going on in the National League.
Yeah, Posey seemed to wait a while on that one, but I know this is just interesting to me. They beat the Dodgers last night 5-2.
Yeah, Dodgers
and that was a team we talked about, wasn't it? We had Buster on the other day, and we said if there was a team, if you were looking, one that was going to fall off and miss, and he pointed out the Dodgers, who had gotten so hot through the month of June with their bats, who brought over Manny Machado and now face the prospect of him being a free agent at the end of the year and them having nothing to show for it in the interim.
Yeah, listen, the Cardinals are 16-4 in August. That's the best record in the bigs. And as you said, they beat the Dodgers by 3 runs. They got two two-run homers, one from Ozuna and one from Yadier Molina. So lo and behold, give the Cardinals front office a lot of credit. They did a lot of things to shake it up, and it is working. As you said, right now in the playoffs, but just 2.5 games back of the Cubs for the lead in the NL Central as we head in close to what will be the final month of the regular season. And then big news going on in Columbus today. Ohio State plans to publicize the findings of the weeks-long investigation involving head coach Urban Meyer and the athletic director Gene Smith and others in the Buckeyes athletic department. A university spokesman confirmed this is all about what they knew and did not know and how they acted about when they heard allegations of domestic violence levied against former wide receiver coach Zach Smith.
So again, they got briefed by did this board on Monday by the investigators, of which some of them were on the board, which is somewhat interesting. So briefed then, and then the report comes out today, a verbal report. There'll be one in writing as well. I know that was a point of contention we'll get into as well, but we'll start to know. And as I said yesterday, I think that at most what's going to happen to Urban Meyer is going to be a suspension at most. Gene Smith's going to be interesting, the AD of where he falls in this, of anybody that's going to be looked at with an eyebrow raised of where the board is going to go and what the punishment they're going to get down as we are a week away from a full slate of college football games.
Boy, I tell you what, if something were to happen to Gene Smith and not to Urban Meyer Lesser, wouldn't that show you kind of the way this whole system works? In a way that we already know, but man, your value wins and losses wise to a university and what that would be willing to afford you if you punish the guy going above him and not the coach.
Along those lines, though, let's just throw out this scenario. If in fact Urban Meyer, who basically lied to the media, we know that, he admitted that, he said I didn't portray that well, however he wanted to spin it. He lied to the media.
Which is not an NCAA violation.
No, it is not. But if, in fact, he truly did send it up the flagpole, if he did what he was supposed to do, if he took the information and he sent it up to Gene Smith, and then now it's in Gene Smith's lap to do what it is, would that still be, if in fact he did do that and the investigation found that, would that still surprise you? Here's the head coach. It's not his job to investigate. It's his job to send it up. And I'm just saying, if it's this side of it, there's two sides to everything. But if there's that side of it, and he sent it up where it was supposed to go, and that didn't get handled properly, then I could see that happening.
But I don't think so, because this is different in a way that's been pointed out from the beginning. Is this wasn't a case that was involving the abuse of a student or a student athlete or someone who was entrusted to the care of the university. This is about someone who was kept on that staff. And this, to me, has always been more about, have we found out that Urban Meyer knew enough about this situation, mm-hmm. Gene Smith knew enough to where we can say this guy was harboring a serial abuser on the team, because that becomes the headline in all of this.
I agree with that.
I'm not even sure if there's anything Gene Smith could have done if you find this out. Now, if we find out things about certain arrests or instances with the police that were maybe kept from here, then the legality of that comes in. But as far as, and this was something at the beginning that kind of got misconstrued on my end, is what the responsibility of the university is if you've got the spouse of someone that's on staff and employed by you being abused, as opposed to instances we've seen where it's been students on campus, it's been kids on the team, which is a largely different realm.
This doesn't fall under the Title IX category because Zach Smith's spouse is not an employee or attends Ohio State.
So again, this is starting at 9 o'clock this morning, and here's our ESPN Big Ten reporter, Daniel Murphy, basically laying out what's going to happen.
We know that most of the principal parties here spoke with investigators at least once. That's Urban Meyer, Athletic Director Gene Smith, Zach Smith, and Courtney Smith. The trustees were briefed yesterday in an informal meeting by Mary Jo White, the lead investigator, to give them a little leg up on what's going on. Details were sparse coming in out of that meeting, a lot of no comments, but we did learn that details won't always be sparse. We're going to be able to get a full written report that's going to be made public at some point soon after a final decision is reached here at Ohio State. They'll have a full rundown of what happened in the investigation and all of the public records that the investigators used in making their determination.
And I think that last part is very critical because there had been some stories floating out that this was going to be a verbal account, much in the same way the Pepper Hamilton report was displayed or led out to the Baylor University trustees in their situation with Art Briles and the football program, and that led to all kinds of outrage. What do you mean there's no paper trail here?
Exactly.
So I think Ohio State, because it is a public university, is going to go down the right road, making sure that, here are our findings and here's what we found out during this investigation.
Where do you think this thing goes?
It's crazy. I heard, and I don't know how substantial this or not, but the possibility that time already served by Urban Meyer is on the table as far as a level of punishment. And if that's even being floated out into the universe, you wonder if it's going to be anything but a suspension at this point. That seems like where we're leaning in all of this. Again, the further away we get from the beginning, from the genesis of this, and the closer we get to the season, where I think this is a lot easier to, however you want to through this process, explain something away or get it into a place where you as a university feel comfortable putting him out there, knowing full well Ohio State's going to be a good football team on the field this year. They're going to be newsworthy throughout the year, and this is going to be something talked about and attached to that every single time you come up.
From the football side, they were AP preseason number 5, and they always have a good football team out there. Urban Meyer hasn't been there since
August 1st,
the beginning of August.
On administrative leave, he was
paid leave, by the way. So if this is time served, then he sat around and got paid, and nothing happened outside of what's going on publicly and being talked about.
But it is interesting, guys, and you brought it up. Everyone is on Urban Meyer for this, and then he came out with that separate statement that said, "No, I did do it." If he did that, I'm not sure this is on Urban Meyer at all. Then it would be on the people above him in the administration.
But again, what's their responsibility in all this if you're not dealing with a school employee or a school, someone attending the school that's a victim in all this? Because again, I look at this, and to me, the most common sense part of this that I have a difficult time explaining away, and people will talk about what Urban Meyer knew and when, how he wrote up the chain of command. The bottom line is, with all of this, you had a number of instances. You had the known incident that Urban Meyer is aware of and acknowledged that went on at Florida. And then you have everything else that's occurred at Ohio State. And then you had the trespassing that occurred this summer that ultimately led to this guy being fired. He is no longer on the staff because he was fired after trespassing. And you've got all of this in tow in the rest of that. And that was the one instance at this one time. And we know there's plenty of other circumstances around the timing of this that feel interesting in all this regarding Urban Meyer and certain mentors and who may or may not be around anymore. You've got all that timing in there. And now this guy doesn't have a job anymore. Like, to me, this is like in Major League Baseball when they suspended that, I forget who it was, for 85 games for the domestic violence.
Osuna.
And you bring him in then and you say, well, it wasn't on our watch. Well, he was suspended for a reason by Major League Baseball. That still has to go to court and all that. You've made it clear something wrong was done. You made it clear Zach Smith is not on your staff for a reason anymore. And that to me is the one point that I can't quite reconcile.
Well, that's the part that gets thrown into this. You mentioned who may be around. Listen, Zach Smith's grandfather was Earl Bruce. Earl Bruce was a mentor of Urban Meyer. And there was a lot of people that believe that's the only reason Zach Smith had a job. And once, unfortunately, Earl Bruce passed away, that now Zach Smith, Earl Bruce is not here. He's a mentor of mine. I love the guy. He's not here anymore. Zach Smith is now, would find a reason to get him gone because we didn't, there are the thoughts out there that people didn't think much of him as a coach. and that he had that job because he was a grandson of Earl Bruce.
So again, that meeting starts today at 9 o'clock, and as for the timetable on when there might be a resolution, once again, here's our Big Ten reporter, Dan Murphy.
Yeah, that's the big question right now, and there isn't a specific deadline or any type of timetable set for that at this point. They're going to meet at 9 a.m., as you said. Probably shortly after they start that meeting, they're going to adjourn into a behind-closed-doors executive session where they'll really get into the meat of discussing and deliberating what they want to do with anybody who gets implicated in this report. Some of those discussions have likely already started. They won't officially start until that meeting tomorrow. That decision could come as soon as a few hours after that meeting breaks, or could stretch a day or several days into the future.
And again, that was Daniel Murphy on SportsCenter yesterday, so that meeting again in Columbus starts at 9 o'clock this morning. Golic and Wingo presented by Progressive Insurance. With more than 30 unique coverage options available, Progressive knows small business. Learn more at progressivecommercial.com. All right, coming up, did you ever wonder what happened to that tiger from the movie The Hangover?
Mm-hmm.
There is a tiger in the bathroom!
Yeah, we've found out what happened to it. And what if I told you it's hanging out with an NFL quarterback? And what if I told you I see something on video that you should never, ever, 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 ever want to do, yet people are applauding it?
When it comes to hiring, you don't have time to waste. You need help getting to your short list of qualified candidates fast. That's why you need Indeed.com. Post a job in minutes, set up screener questions, then zero in on qualified candidates using an intuitive online dashboard. And when you need to hire fast, accelerate your results with sponsored jobs. New users can try for free at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms, conditions, and quality standards apply.
Support for the Golic and Wingo Show podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Let's talk about buying homes for a minute. Because of rising interest rates, there's a lot of unpredictability when it comes to buying a home these days. It's causing a whole lot of anxiety with folks. Well, our friends at Quicken Loans are doing something about it. They're calling it the power buying process, and here's how it works. Quicken Loans will verify your income, assets, and credit in less than 24 hours to give you a verified approval. This gives you the strength of a cash buyer. Then once you're verified, you qualify for their all-new exclusive Rate Shield approval. First, they lock your rate for up to 90 days while you shop. Now here's the best part. If rates go up, your rate stays the same. But if rates go down, your rate also drops. You win either way. It's the kind of thinking you'd expect from America's largest mortgage lender. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Golic. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year purchase transactions. Additional conditions or exclusions may apply. Based on Quicken Loans data in comparison to public data record. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
Golic and Wingo with you on ESPN Radio, ESPN2. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. Our phone guest will join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. And coming up later on this morning, one of the guests that joined us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, Zlatan.
Oh, my God.
Zlatan Ibrahimovic.
Uh-huh.
The Lord of Los Angeles, as he calls himself, for the LA Galaxy, will be joining us a little bit later on. Talked to him yesterday, and let's just say, lived up to the bill.
It was worth it, huh?
It was worth sticking around for a couple hours.
I invoked Zlatan the other day talking about golf.
You do not get a cart. You do not get Golic.
Yeah, do not get Golic.
Let's just say it was everything you could have possibly hoped for and more. Zlatan Ibrahimovic, will have that interview for you later on in the show. And let's just say you want to stick around for that. But for right now, it is time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. So the Cleveland Browns are becoming very interesting, and they're doing a great job of being interesting for a team that won exactly 0 games last year and won in the last 2 seasons. Obviously, they've been on Hard Knocks. Episode 3 was last night, so that's made them very interesting. Just drafting Baker Mayfield has made them very interesting, and it gets better. Baker Mayfield has now rolled out one of his first endorsements, and it includes a picture of him shirtless in front of a Bentley with a tiger.
Yeah.
For an underwear ad.
And it's an underwear ad.
Yeah.
He has jeans on, but they're kind of down. You can see the underwear, the top of the underwear. No shirt, as you mentioned, the Bentley. And the tiger is the tiger from The Hangover.
Oh, that's actually it?
That is actually the tiger
really?
from The Hangover.
There's
Yeah.
a tiger
Yeah.
in the bathroom!
Did you listen to Trey's tease?
Well, no, I thought he was just joking.
Oh,
I thought
no.
he was just using
I don't
it
ever
for the
joke
tease.
about underwears and tigers.
We do
Those
not
are the two things I never joke
exactly right. If you're going to be serious about anything in life, it's tigers and underwear.
I had underwear with a tiger on the crotch.
about. Good to know.
Yeah,
I don't even know where to go with that.
Yeah, there's nowhere to go with that.
We go on to the next sentence.
Well, so this is interesting though, because you're right. The Browns have been
they're interesting.
Well, they're headline makers in a lot of ways because they have a lot of names that we know now. Before it was just a bad team. Now it's a bad team that's got Jarvis Landry. Josh Gordon's back in the building now. Tyrod Taylor came over, who, say what you want, not like a top 5 quarterback in the league, but a guy that a reliable veteran, a character,
right.
And then you throw Baker Mayfield on top of it.
Des Bryant was there for a visit. Yeah.
It's all been this perfect ball of interesting, and I thought this was an interesting sentiment yesterday, and I had this comment, Mita Kimes, our ESPN senior writer, said, Baker's got too much personality to be a quarterback in this league. Like, this is a league that sort of squeezes it out of you at that position, and you wonder how this stuff is going to play from a guy who, as people, I'm sure, at some point will start to turn on and say, what has he done or accomplished?
Listen, you know how this is going to go. By the way, the underwear company that he's repping is owned by Jimmy Butler, Kyrie Irving, and Chandler Parsons. So, and he's out there with no shirt on. That was, as someone tweeted, how can a body kind of look in shape and out of shape like at the same time? When you look at it, it's not, you don't immediately go, wow, that's a pro athlete. Let's be honest.
It's a quarterback body.
Yeah,
it's what I assume the meat of the bell curve of NFL quarterbacks would look like shirtless.
So old man on the porch is normally going to scream in this case, dude. It's already been said by the coach, you are the backup in stone, that Tyrod Taylor is a starter. We know Baker is going to play at some point. You're the backup quarterback and you're out there doing a commercial like this. Why don't you not do any of that? Who did we hear? Who was the quarterback last year? Why is it leaving me now? That said he wasn't going to do anything, had opportunity to do some ads, and it was a Pat Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes said he had opportunities to do some things that he didn't. He was the backup. Alex Smith was the quarterback. He said he was going to wait. Everybody kind of applauded him for that. And now I heard Baker front and center, not going to be the starter in an underwear ad. And I've already seen people saying, know your place as a backup. You shouldn't be trying to get your shine on right now. We're in a different world right now with guys and marketing, men and women in marketing and what they're trying to accomplish. So that doesn't bother me anymore as well. But you do, fairly or unfairly, and a lot of people say fairly, open yourself up to the fact of saying, if you don't play well, you're out here doing all this stuff because everybody thinks pro athletes should be doing their gig 24/7. So you can't take time out for a photo shoot and then do well as a quarterback because the two don't mix then.
Well, look, there's a couple. First, you're right. People think that they should be locked in a room watching film all the time. And for the most part, quarterbacks do that. I remember week 1, what did Hugh Jackson say about Baker Mayfield? Well, why don't you come in when Tyrod comes in? Or, well, he has his own little workout. Where's your little workout?
Right.
So that is part of the process. And it is different, I believe, for quarterbacks than almost any other position. And Bill Parcells, he famously had these rules for being a good quarterback.
Right.
One of them was never be a celebrity quarterback. And whether that's still applicable today is very debatable.
I think it's debatable.
I think it's very debatable, but it also is a fundamental principle, I think, that people want to see. They want to know that their quarterback, whether it's right or wrong or just a complete fallacy, they want that perception to be out there that, that's what that guy does.
They do, but this is also a guy that's given a lot of other people what they want in their quarterback, which is this confidence. It borders on brash. People have enjoyed, and that's been part of the Baker narrative.
No question.
With him, as I mentioned, him going on with Colin Cowherd and directly confronting a guy that had been critical of him in a way that a lot of people looked at and said, well, Baker won that. They looked at that as a net good for him. This has been a guy who's already overcome it. I remember you guys sitting here when Baker was doing his web series criticizing him for that, and he's overcome that already just by his preseason performance alone, where there was no net negative for that. He's been a guy that has lived in the spotlight and so far not stubbed his toe in any way.
Well, that's exactly right, because what has been one of the comparisons, and a guy who got drafted by the same team in the first round, has been Johnny Manziel. Everybody trying to say don't make that comparison, but it's going to be a comparison. And what we remember from Johnny Manziel is he even admitted he was not ready and he didn't prepare. He's looking at playbooks on flights to Las Vegas.
Right.
And you know what? It showed on the field. Baker Mayfield has given you no reason to believe that he is not prepared, that he is not in command of the huddle, in command of the pocket. Listen, they're rookie quarterbacks and they're going to struggle and all of them are. But as I said, I think all of the rookie quarterbacks have looked pretty good. One thing they've looked good about is their poise and their command. Certainly they're still rookies and learning, but he hasn't given you any reason to say, you know what, don't be doing that extracurricular stuff. But I'm sure there are those in that organization, and probably the head coach being one of them, that would love for him to not be doing that stuff and just be, look to be the eventual franchise quarterback of this team. But we're in a different time now where guys are going to do that, and as long as you back it up, and right now, he's given you really no reason to think that he can't back that up right now.
What they don't say, it ain't bragging if you can back it up.
Yeah.
And people, not only is he backing up, people are backing him up and the Cleveland Browns. It is unbelievable what's going on with them, including large amounts of money that are being placed on the Cleveland Browns and their win totals at the sportsbooks. Here's Jay Root from MGM.
It is a definite phenomenon. Everybody is pounding the Browns. I mean, we have, by far, we only have one liability in the Super Bowl, and that's the Browns. We're getting completely good action across the board on everyone else. If you remove the Browns, I think everyone is very confused as to who they think is really going to step forward in the NFL this year.
Browns are used to being a liability.
Right, that's fair. But, I mean, think about that. Right now, that guy, Jay Root, is saying, we're good as long as the Browns don't win the Super Bowl. That's how much money is being placed right now on Cleveland, not only to get to win a game, to get to the Super Bowl.
Well, every now and then you take a flyer. I mean, that's where you make your money, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can make money.
Penny stock, basically.
Without giving up a whole lot of money to make a lot of money. It depends on how you want to go about it. That's the epitome of that extra cash lying around. I'm going to throw it on the Browns and what it could turn into if they pull this thing off, of which nobody believes that they will.
It's funny on the other side of it, though, because they said it used to be the point spreads would be so big in Browns games that you would have sharps, the professional bettors, going and betting on the Browns with the points in those situations because they were so enticed, and the public was just so ensconced in the normal Browns narrative that this is a garbage team. We'd seen them win one game in 2 years and all this stuff. Now it's the other side. It's all the interesting buzz names. This is what happens. If we're given enough names, this happens with the Titans in offseason go. Right. When they bring Eric Decker and all these names that we know in receivers, and we think, oh, yeah, they're going to be good because we know these people. And then that's how a lot of people bet. And not a lot of people are doing this with their heads. And they said now on the other side, you have the public going in on the Browns and all these win totals, and the sharps are going to be sitting there like, no, we're good. We'll be on the other side of this, even in the score.
Yeah, and not only that, that was Jay Root, Vice President of Racing Sports at MGM Resorts, on with Freddie and Fitzsimmons. So not only are there massive bets for them to get to the Super Bowl, which is crazy, listen to the win totals that are being bet on right now for the Browns.
So our win total currently is 6, over minus $1.45. We opened 5.5, and it's been going a little bit over. We're starting to draw a little bit under money. The wise guys are going to keep the betting price a little bit honest. If we were just moving strictly on what the betting public was going to do, we'd probably be at 7.5 at this point. But yeah, everyone's betting the over on the Browns. They think that's probably the steal of the century at this point, is what most people are thinking when they're betting this proposition.
They've won one game in 2 years.
Here's what I would have to say.
Yeah.
Whoa. You're telling me
the Browns are going to win 8 games?
The Browns are 40-1 to win the AFC and 80-1 to win the Super Bowl. That's stunning to me. I thought it would have been way higher odds than that.
And it's amazing. I mean, to set, season win totals and the lines for these, there's a ton of math that goes into it. I mean, these are really smart people that are creating all of this. And I would like to go back because I'm pretty sure I set the Browns win total earlier this spring at 6 games. So you guys can all laud me for my genius in figuring that out.
Basically, you're pulling a Chaz Michaels here. You're welcome, Las Vegas.
Yeah, no, listen, I gave everyone a lead on that. I thought 6 or 7 was going to be the win, so it makes sense. 6.5 would be the line.
Maybe.
For entertainment purposes, if someone would like to get some money down on that over.
Let's say betting's legal now. Let's try and make
in certain states it's not for entertainment purposes.
Let's make some money. And we're talking about Baker Mayfield, but maybe the reason why up there is Tyrod Taylor. Yeah. His passer rating right now is 134. He hasn't been sacked this preseason yet. To give batters a different look, pitchers throw a changeup.
Your idea of a different look is sunglasses.
That's true. But La Quinta Inns and Suites is really taking the different look thing to a new level.
Definitely a major league makeover, starting with a bolder, brighter lobby full of comfortable spaces to let you settle in.
Or chill out in front of a big flat screen like Wingo would.
Oh, you know it. It's a changing La Quinta look to help you get in the zone and look sharp when you hit that big meeting.
Prepare to win at business with La Quinta Inns and Suites.
Book now at LQ.com.
Sorry, I'm arguing with our staff. I mean, the idiotic things coming from behind the glass right now are just preposterous.
Well, that's true, but let's be honest. We own our own share of idiotic things on this side of the glass as well.
Yeah, no doubt. Our mistake board is well earned. Sports Center is brought to you by Shell. Premium engine performance starts at Shell with Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline. Get unsurpassed protection against gunk, unbeatable protection against corrosion, and our best protection against wear.
Okay, Golic and Wingo here with you. We are coming into the meat of the preseason in the NFL, which is basically the final dress rehearsal is week 3 or game 3 or game 4, obviously, if you played in the Hall of Fame game like the Browns and the Ravens did. And the Eagles kick it off Thursday night when they host Baker Mayfield and his tiger and his underwear, the Cleveland Browns. Or actually, Baker Mayfield and company host the Eagles in that game. And there's some concern about what the Eagles should do in this preseason game because of injuries to their quarterbacks. There's the injury to Carson Wentz, who's coming back from that knee. Doesn't look like he's going to be ready for the start of the season, which means they're going to have to rely on Nick Foles, as they did going back to the playoff run and the end of the regular season in 2017, when obviously he caught fire and became the Super Bowl MVP in an unbelievable performance. But Nick Foles is dealing with some shoulder soreness himself in this game. So the question then becomes, what should the Eagles do at quarterback, and what is the final dress rehearsal for your starters? Going to probably play a quarter, maybe a little more, to make sure everything is in rhythm and in sync. Do you risk playing Nick Foles, or should you let him rest and put Nate Sudfeld out there? Our own Louis Riddick, our fine ESPN NFL front office insider, who was all in, by the way, on Pat Mahomes, you can book it, as he did yesterday, says this about what the Eagles should do with their quarterback situation.
As long as Nick Foles is relatively healthy, and look, maybe he isn't 100% healthy, but as long as he's healthy enough to go out there and play football, and he isn't going to risk himself in terms of re-injuring his shoulder, then I think obviously it's the right thing to do. They still have the luxury of time as far as waiting on Carson Wentz, which I know they're going to do regardless. But look, this is just business as usual. Playing hurt is kind of part of the game. As long as he's not putting himself at risk for further injury, you've got to play Nick Foles.
Okay, he says they got to play Nick Foles. My question is, if there's any concern with his shoulder, and you know you may need him, I'd say, hey, Nate Sudfeld, Christian Hackenberg, and some guy named Joe Callahan, have at it.
I mean,
do your thing, man.
I agree with in general, with what Lewis says is, there's hurt and there's injured. You can play hurt, and some people at times you play injured. That's rolling the dice a little bit more, but not now. I mean, if there is any risk at all, and I know Lewis kept saying as long as he can't hurt it more, but if there's any issue at all, man, he's not seeing the field. I don't care if this is a dress rehearsal or not. Nick Foles wouldn't be going on that field. You're going to need him to start the season. We keep talking about maybe Carson Wentz starting the season, but you betting on that? You want those guys healthy when the season starts. Other quarterbacks, Nick, have a ball, man. Sudfeld, have a ball out there. Go throw the ball around, do your thing. Other quarterbacks, do your thing. Ain't no way I'd put Nick Foles out there if there's any issue at all with that shoulder.
Well, but I guess that's the deal, is if they're putting him out there, I can't imagine there is, right?
Yeah.
I can't imagine there is a serious, because the other side of this is saying, well, we just want to protect him and get him to week 1, so we're not going to put him out there and risk it at all, which you would do in theory then even if he was healthy. So in my mind, he can't be seriously hurt if they're going to put him out there. So I don't have an issue. Get him a little work. You want to get your one offense, one last tune-up before you go in, assuming, as I think we can correctly at this point, Nick Foles is going to be the week 1 starter.
It looks like clearly he's going to be the week 1 starter. By the way, have you seen this? Michael Kendricks, who went from Philly to Cleveland in the offseason, there's a little teaser video out there now saying, we've got so much more talent than we had in this room than we had in Philly. It's not even funny. Not even funny.
Really?
Yeah, it's saying there's more. Michael Kendricks is saying there's more talent in the Cleveland Browns locker room right now than there was in Philadelphia last year when they won
all
the Super
think
Bowl.
They're going to be a better team. This year. But then again, we're saying better from zero.
Yeah.
So
if they win games, they've made a massive
The bar isn't
improvement.
high here.
Games. So we'll see what happens. Coming up, an NFL player that is all about watching tape. No Netflix, no Hulu. We'll get into that with him. Stay with us. Golic and Wingo.
Computer, execute 12.4p operation.
Optimizing algorithm. Running encryption packet alpha. Night. Oh, I don't feel so good.
What is it, computer?
Is it hot in here? It feels hot in here. I feel a little clammy. I should lie down or something.
A computer with a virus? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
Those oysters Rockefeller were a mistake.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Great news! There's a quick way you can save money. Switch to Geico. Geico could help you get great coverage at a great price, and it only takes 15 minutes to see if you could save 15% or more on car insurance. Go to geico.com today and see how much you could save.
Hope your Wednesday's off to a good start. Glad you're with us. Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. You can get in touch with us, 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed at Golic and Wingo, or call in 860-506-5505. What we put up there on the Twitter feed today is Baker Mayfield's out there in his first ad. It's an underwear commercial, shirtless, Bentley, and the actual tiger from the movie The Hangover is part of the spot.
By the way, we need to correct this right now before we all get roasted even more on Twitter. It's a Rolls Royce.
Oh, it's Rolls Royce?
It's a Rolls Royce. Yeah, no. We got on the track, high-end luxury cars, but I don't want it. The internet is a cruel place. I don't know if you've been there lately, but
true.
It's not often the kindest place in the world, and we want to make sure that in an image that involves a shirtless rookie quarterback and a tiger, that we get the brand of the car right.
Would you do Trey? Would you do an underwear commercial?
No.
Mike, would you do an underwear commercial?
Hell yeah.
Me too.
Oh my God.
I would too.
Because let's be real about this picture. Baker Mayfield. I'm not here to body shame anyone. We understand. Quarterbacks, you're not asked to be this Adonis.
Right.
Not everyone's going to look like Cam Newton. Like they're carved out of marble.
Right.
Got to imagine there was a little help, right? Like, give me the 300 treatment where they overlay the cartoon body over the top.
Yeah.
I'll be out there looking pretty good.
I would try it, though.
Hit a little bronzer. I got good legs.
It'd be nice to have the abs, though. You think our next guest has those abs?
I think he does, but I'm pretty sure from everything I know about him, I don't think he would do an underwear commercial. What we talking about with quarterbacks? Hey, listen, live in the tape room, breathe it 24/7, don't do anything else. Our next guest kind of embodies that rule.
Yeah,
that's how he rolls.
You think he's used to a little bit of work, an undrafted free agent out of Kentucky Wesleyan. I mean, you think you had to show a few things coming out of there in his second year in the league now? Pretty impressive.
Maybe just a little bit, so let's bring him in now. It's Jags wideout Keelan Cole joining us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Here comes the greatest read ever. Get triple action protection for optimal engine performance with Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline. Keelan, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Thank you for having me. How are you?
Good. So we're all up on Baker Mayfield and his underwear commercial. Where do you stand on the I'll do a shirtless underwear commercial idea?
Hey, I think it's better than him than me. I mean, I haven't got anybody asking me for underwear commercial, so I wouldn't know.
Keelan, I got to ask, because the first thing I thought of is, if that's a guy on your team, how quickly is that picture posted all over the locker room?
I don't know, because that's a common thing, though. He's not the only one that's done an underwear commercial, so it's not really that crazy anymore.
Well, I would imagine the first person that might chime in would be Jalen Ramsey, and we'll get into his thoughts on quarterbacks a little bit later. But Keelan, tell us a little bit about yourself, because we were talking earlier today, about the myth that fans believe their quarterbacks should do nothing but football, live, breathe, sleep it all the time, watch film all the time. And yet that's kind of what you do, right? My understanding is you don't do Netflix, you don't do Hulu, you don't do anything. Basically, you just watch tape, right?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part. It's just I feel like you only get so much time to do this thing, which is play football. So, I mean, you might as well go ahead and put all your time into it while it's here, and then when it's done, you can do all the other things.
So I would imagine if there is any kind of TV or something you watch, has to be pretty good for you, since you do it pretty selectively. So are there certain TV shows that you do watch?
I mean, honestly, the only thing I do have is Netflix. So on Netflix, I watch like Planet Earth and stuff like that. Like I like to learn some stuff on my time off. I mean, I try to watch movies, but I never really finish it through. Most of the time, I just fall asleep probably in the first 10 minutes. So pretty much only Planet Earth is the only thing I can actually watch.
Talking to Keelan Cole, Jacksonville Jaguars wide receiver, and I guess coming into that environment down there in Jacksonville is interesting. You're an undrafted guy. I was undrafted. My dad was a late round draft pick.
I was also undrafted. Just want to throw that out there.
Trey Wingo also undrafted. But what was it like coming into this team environment? Because I've heard statements from Jalen Ramsey about coming into a losing environment, but being part of this turnaround now.
Well, I mean, in my eyes, I just came in just knowing that every year is a new year, so there is no losing environment. We knew as a team when we came in that we was going to be pretty much new as a team as a whole, because we had new coaches and all. So we just knew this is a chance to start something new. So that's what we worked forward to. We wanted to win the Super Bowl. We put our minds to it, came together as a team and tried to get it done.
Is anything brought up from last year? Is last year's year used as motivation to this year, or is last year just forgotten about and completely new year this year?
I think it's used more for a lesson learned. Not saying that anybody made any mistakes, but that's something personal that everybody has to think about for themselves. Think about what they did last year that maybe held them back just that little much to not get us to the Super Bowl. So we all put something off for the season that might distract us a little bit, and we say we're going to keep working for that until we get that Super Bowl.
Jags wideout Keelan Cole with us this morning on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. By the way, 8th in receiving yards over the second half of last season. Really came on strong. So take us through the mentality of where we are with this team, and specifically the quarterback, Blake Bortles. He's always going to get the criticism, right? He's always going to get, but with Blake Bortles. Tell me what the team feels about your quarterback.
The team's behind him 100%. We don't really listen to anything outside. I mean, of course, I'm one of the, maybe, I don't know, I'm probably not the only one that doesn't watch any television and stuff like that. So, I mean, we don't really get distracted. We all know that there's going to be talk. I mean, just like last year, there was talk, and we get in the season, and we just stayed behind them. The receiving core, we just said we just catching everything, and we made sure that we tried to catch everything, so that way that his name wasn't in anything. We entered this as a team together, and so we're just going to keep working together.
Keelan, I'm interested because obviously you guys support Blake, but is he the leader on the offense? And if not, who's the voice over there? I feel like so often with this team we associate a lot of the voices and the characters with the defensive side of the ball over there. When it comes to your guys' offensive meeting room, who's the voice that you guys look to?
There's not really one voice. I feel like everybody says their opinion when the time comes, and when I feel like that person works at something harder. So I feel like Linder talks. Blake for sure talks. Blake talks to us in the huddle and stuff like that. You know, everybody has their time where they talk. So it's not really just a one-person leader thing. It's everybody who feels like they need to say something at the time can come up and say anything.
And certainly a guy that talks a lot is Jalen Ramsey on that team. So in practice, when you guys are doing a little one-on-one work, does he talk smack in practice to you guys as much as he does against opponents?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, it goes back and forth. It goes from across from offense to defense. We try not to do too much of it because we still got stuff to focus on, and we don't want to get out of hand. But we for sure compete on that field, on the practice field for sure. Definitely going against Jalen is real good to compete against somebody like that. Definitely one of the top, maybe if not the top DB in the league. So he's still 2.0 on the practice field.
How good are you at smack talk, though, when you're going back at him?
I don't really do too much. I just laugh. I mean, if I feel like I caught a ball on him that he feel like it wasn't a catch, that's probably as much as I can say. But other than that, I'm not really a smack talker on the field.
Keelan Cole with us, Jags wide receiver, as we get ready for the start of what will hopefully be another successful 2018 campaign for the Jags like it was in 2017, where you came within a few plays of getting to the Super Bowl. We're talking a lot about the Browns because they're on Hard Knocks, and it seems very entertaining. I have to believe that the Jaguars, if they had been the cameras on them, would have almost as been as entertaining with everything that's gone on this preseason with some of the skirmishes that some of the players have got into with members of the local media. What would it be like if the Jags were on Hard Knocks?
I mean, you would see a nice, classy team in my eyes. I feel like everything we do, I mean, it's old school. It's tough. Definitely through camp. Y'all would have seen a nice, hard-working team that was going at it every day and didn't complain about anything.
How much of that you attribute to Doug Marrone, your head coach, who I feel in all of this sort of gets lost? He's an old-school guy. He's kind of no-nonsense with a team full of as many colorful personalities. What is it about Doug Marrone that sort of steadies the ship?
I feel like it's up to it was up to all the coaches. I feel like we got some nice old-school coaches in there. Even my coach included. Coach Ricardale, it's just they all work together, and they all work together, and they all say, "Hey, this is what we want. What does everybody think about it?" And then they just go with it, and they push us harder than they push themselves. And I know they're in here longer than us for sure. Yeah,
we're talking to Keelan Cole, wide receiver for Jacksonville, making it into the NFL the hardest way you can. An undrafted free agent out of Kentucky Wesleyan last year had 42 catches, averaged just under 18 yards per catch. With all that, and we mentioned 8th in receiving yards over the second half of the season, your Madden rating is a 79. How upset are you?
I'm not really upset. I mean, when they came here, told us to tell us what they thought. I mean, it was more of a joke, but I'm just glad to be on the game, glad to be on this team, glad to be in this league, glad to play football for a living. So I'm really just grateful for the opportunity to be on the game.
And let's go full circle on the fact that you don't watch a lot of TV or movies. How about in the off season? What do you do in the off season? Do you watch more TV or movies then, or do other stuff?
For sure, I watch a little bit more. I get more time to watch all the new movies that came out. I like watching Marvel movies and stuff like that. I like the longer movies. So like I get my money's worth at the theater. So, but other than that, I'm pretty much working out at the facility and trying to do something to either get myself better or healthier. So I'm always thinking of football, honestly, off the field.
All right, so you did mention, though, you go to the movie theaters at times. Yesterday we had a question come up. When you go into a theater, we've all done it. You can be honest about it. What have you taken into the movie theater as far as maybe food from the outside or drink from the outside and snuck it into a theater?
Oh, I just feel like the packs aren't that big. So I go to the dollar store and get a king-size Twizzler pack.
There you go.
Bring in, so that way I don't have to continue to go back and forth because I eat through Twizzlers during the movies.
The king-size Twizzler
That's
pack.
a good call.
Listen, here we are. We're trying to get Keelan Cole in all kinds of trouble. Come on, what do you think about this? Yeah. He's having none of it, man. By the way, Doug Marrone is so proud of you right now. You have the blinders on and you are completely focused.
Good job.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, listen, it was an unbelievable. Let's finish it up with this. It was a crazy season last year. You guys made it to the AFC Championship game. Had the lead in the fourth quarter with about 10 minutes to go in Foxborough. So the Jaguars' 2018 season will be a success if?
We continue to do what we're doing.
Oh, Doug Marrone is so proud of you.
He is so
Doug
proud.
Marrone is so proud of you right now.
Is.
Keelan, get back into watching tapes and renew that Netflix subscription for the offseason, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Keelan Cole
Keelan.
with us. Pretty solid.
That's how you pass media training right there, man.
That's exactly right.
You get locked in. You really only have to hammer a handful of things there, get just enough personality, got the Twizzlers point in there. That's media relations 101.
Go to the dollar store and get the king-size Twizzler. That was phenomenal.
You know what that is?
Awesome.
That's an undrafted guy.
Well,
hold on to your money.
Again, Kentucky Wesleyan, undrafted, 42 catches, just under 18 yards per catch. That's pretty impressive. The best answer as far as the media training was, Jacksonville would be incredible on Hard Knocks.
Oh,
absolutely.
Without question.
And what did he say? We'd be a classy team. You show you how hard we work, and that's what you would see. And man, I think you'd see a heck of a lot more than that.
Hey, bury your tongue in your cheek. It's what you got to do when
Great
you're
job
dealing
on
with us. The enemy.
Yep.
The enemy on the outside here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, look, clearly I agree with you, and they can decide whether they're not doing up because of the qualifications, but they would have been fascinating.
Yeah, they would have
fascinating.
But here's the thing: you have Keelan Cole's to balance out Jalen Ramsey's, right? Because most teams aren't equipped to handle a locker room full of personalities as strong as Jalen Ramsey. We saw Seattle was really the precursor to this, right? And I mean, there have been plenty along the way, but Seattle's the most recent example of this team full of dynamic personalities that sometimes clashed and sometimes butted heads.
But they had their success, so you give them that.
I mean.
They did.
You find your way to all this success when you're able to channel that the right way, and that's why Doug Marrone is interesting as the captain of this ship.
I'm hearing it in my head now. Liev Schreiber doing the reads, Jalen Ramsey, the brash, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But for every Jalen Ramsey, a team has a Keelan Cole.
Yeah.
You go back at him with Twizzlers, watching the tape.
Watching tape.
Cole, an undrafted rookie out of Wesley, Kentuckian, is all about football.
Wesleyan,
That's just
Kentuckian.
the way it would go.
Yeah. Make sure you cut that.
There you go. Wesleyan, Kentucky Wesleyan?
Kentucky Wesleyan. Not Wesleyan,
Coming up next on Wingo and Golic. We got it on. By the way, that's the NFL Training Camp Report brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Protecting your small business, it's kind of a big deal. Cover what you work so hard for. Visit ProgressiveCommercial.com. And we have this reminder, by the way. We're going to be in New Jersey on Friday. We're reminding you to grab your tickets for the Northern Trust Open in Paramus, New Jersey. Friday, August 24th. Come watch our show before taking in a day of championship golf. Now, championship golf is the start of the FedEx playoffs, right? We talked about the playoffs with the Jacksonville Jaguars. We are into the playoffs on the PGA Tour, and this is going to be something we haven't seen from the most prolific major champion in a long time in golf, Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods is going to be there as part of the Northern Trust that weekend, and it's going to be the beginning of at least 3 weeks played in a row for Tiger, something he hasn't done in a long time. He hopes it's obviously going to be longer than that with the continuing in the FedEx Cup playoffs and playing onto the Ryder Cup. But we're talking about a guy who's put in a lot of work this year as a 42-year-old golfer coming back from spinal fusion surgery. So the question then becomes, how do you manage this kind of this much golf in a short period of time?
It's about pacing myself and making sure I don't practice too much, don't overdo it, and make sure my training schedule goes well. And that's one of the harder things is this year is trying to find the right balance. And as the summer has gone on, I've gotten better and felt better. And this is a pretty important stretch.
It is a very important stretch, and now we're dealing with expectations, right? I feel like we've been teased since March. Oh, he's going to do this, he's going to do that. So what do you think are reasonable expectations for him over the next 3 weeks?
Well, I think what became reasonable to him is a guy who wouldn't accept anything but winning, and now he does. Now he understands, getting close is okay. Now, especially when he moves up the rankings and puts himself in position to be on the Ryder Cup, which is exactly what he wants to do.
That to me is it, right?
Yep.
Like, as we've looked and we've kind of set these arbitrary benchmarks for Tiger along the way, for the longest time it was the Masters. Then we had these last couple of majors. We had the Open, and then we had the PGA Championship. Now, I'm going to be honest, the only time I'm going to care about Tiger Woods golfing again, wholly and truly, like where I'll be looking forward to and expecting, is the Ryder Cup. That's all I really care about.
I agree.
Now.
I'm sure he would obviously love to win any of these tournaments. Going to play a few in a row and hope to play a few more in a row. But his goal right now, and I think everybody thinks he believes he's already achieved it. He's going to be on the Ryder Cup and playing in that Ryder Cup, I think, is a big goal for him because obviously the next major is until the Masters next April.
Right.
So the Ryder Cup is a monster thing.
Listen, the top 12, you take 12. Right now he's 11th in the points.
And playing well.
So there's really no reason not to take him. So Jim Furyk, Jimbo, Furzy, let's all embrace the idea that he's going to be on the Ryder Cup, and Jim Furyk will be with us on Friday, right? We're very excited about that.
Perfect. We're going to get truth on it.
We're going to get it right there.
We're going to pin him down. He did a great job after the PGA. Well, he's certainly playing well. Yeah, certainly could help us. But Jimbo, Furzy.
What did he say? He's playing well, but there's a lot of guys
that are playing well.
Yeah. You know what? Jim Furyk's good at some wrestling. We brought a wrestler with us. We're going to wrestle it right out.
Yeah, we are.
So we're looking forward to that. But to your point, it is interesting to hear Tiger talk about different expectations. He was the guy that infamously said in an interview with Curtis Strange that second sucks and third is worse.
Yeah.
And, Curtis was like, you'll learn. And then we learned no. He really meant that.
Yeah.
And he went out and proved it. But at 42, coming back from all the injuries that he had, he understands now that his expectations are different because of where he is.
To have a winless year, but to go through what I've gone through, I didn't know I was going to play last year. I didn't know if I'd ever play again. I was hoping just to be able to play golf with my kids and with my buddies at home. I wasn't thinking about the tour. And now here I'm contending in major championships. And I've had a chance to win a couple major championships. So this has been, as I've said before, it's been a blessing. But, man, it's been so special to have this opportunity again. I'm certainly not taking it for granted, that's for sure.
Just a different dynamic now.
Yeah, it is. And, by the way, let's remember this FedEx Cup thing going on. The winner of this gets $10 million.
Is that all? Is that all?
And I know these guys have a lot of money and all, but $10 million.
Can I tell you a great story along those lines? A guy that I used to do the coverage with for the Open Championship. He works for us in ESPN International. I'm not going to say his name, Mark Donaldson. We were out in Muirfield, and we were out at a restaurant, and a buddy has brought a friend, and he introduced himself as Bill. And my friend, Mark Donaldson, who's there covering golf, said, "Oh, Bill, what do you do?" And he goes, "Well, I'm an independent contractor. I work for myself, self-employed." And he goes, "Are you successful?" And he goes, "Yeah, I won $10 million last year." It was Bill Haas, the golfer who won the FedEx Cup. Mm-hmm. So good job, Laddie Boy, not knowing. Oh, yeah, that's the guy that won the FedEx Cup the previous year.
Beautiful thing.
He was there to cover the Open. Solid. All right, we'll get to Bretymology later this hour, but coming up next, someone is looking to take advantage of a rule that may have massive implications and maybe shut down very quickly.
When it comes to hiring, you don't have time to waste. You need help getting to your short list of qualified candidates fast. That's why you need Indeed.com. Post a job in minutes, set up screener questions, then zero in on qualified candidates using an intuitive online dashboard. And when you need to hire fast, accelerate your results with sponsored jobs. New users can try for free at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms, conditions, and quality standards apply.
Support for the Golic and Wingo Show podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Let's talk about buying homes for a minute. Because of rising interest rates, there's a lot of unpredictability when it comes to buying a home these days. It's causing a whole lot of anxiety with folks. Well, our friends at Quicken Loans are doing something about it. They're calling it the power buying process, and here's how it works. Quicken Loans will verify your income, assets, and credit in less than 24 hours to give you a verified approval. This gives you the strength of a cash buy higher. Then once you're verified, you qualify for their all-new exclusive Rate Shield approval. First, they lock your rate for up to 90 days while you shop. Now, here's the best part. If rates go up, your rate stays the same. But if rates go down, your rate also drops. You win either way. It's the kind of thinking you'd expect from America's largest mortgage lender. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Golic. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year purchase transactions. Additional conditions or exclusions may apply. Based on Quicken Loans data in comparison to public data record. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
Golic and Wingo with you, ESPN Radio, ESPN News, presented by Progressive Insurance. You can get in touch with us, 1-800-Flowers.com, Twitter feed at Golic and Wingo, or as you'll hear from Brett soon, 860-506-5505. And you may have missed this next story while you were sleeping, and it's brought to you by Tempur-Pedic, loved by our owners and ranked highest in computer satisfaction with mattresses by J.D. Power. Find out why at TempurPedic.com. And Junior, I heard you talking about this on the way into work this morning, and I think you're right. This is going to be really interesting what the ramifications are for this. Now we see how it's being played out in college football. Let's set it up here. There's a former linebacker at Texas A&M who has applied for a waiver to play right away at Arizona. And there's a new law in college football that is it just football and baseball as well?
Football and baseball.
That basically says if they're mitigating circumstances.
Let me read the rule. This came about in June under new transfer legislation. This Santonio Marshall, a linebacker from Texas A&M, transferred to Arizona. Normally, you have to sit for a year transfer unless you're a graduate student. Anything lower than that, you're going to sit for a year. This new legislation basically is saying under these circumstances, you can play right away. Under new transfer legislation passed in June by the NCAA, a player may get a waiver for immediate eligibility if the transfer is due to documented mitigating circumstances that are outside the student-athlete's control and directly impact the health, safety, and well-being of the student-athlete. So this guy transferred, and when he went out the door, Mike, he kind of said some things that would help him fit into this new legislation to have him play right away.
So he was a freshman last year at Texas A&M with Kevin Sumlin. Kevin Sumlin's now at Arizona. Right. You can put it together. He's trying to follow Kevin Sumlin out of the door here. Didn't want to stick around in this new regime for Jimbo Fisher for whatever reason. We don't know that. But brought up, he said he was given a few $100s. Now, this was under the last regime. Said he was given $300 on one instance, $400 on another instance to take care of recruits, to take out recruits on unofficial visits.
Which would be an NCAA violation.
Which would be an NCAA violation. You get a certain stipend if you're hosting a recruit as an official visit. It's like $40 for a weekend, something like that.
This was unofficial visit, and he said he was given hundreds of dollars.
He said he was given that. He also said that he was forced to play through or work out through an ankle injury in the summer. Said that this current staff, Jimbo Fisher and company, had gone over their hours totals as far as working out in the summer, had gone over in that regard. So brought all this up in an effort to use this technicality. And this is the thing when it comes to that grad transfer rule too, the technicality there, because it's not just you can transfer freely wherever you want. It's, well, you can transfer to a school that offers a graduate program that your current school doesn't offer.
Right.
There's always these little stipulations. And so when you make people play the game, sometimes they play it better than you.
So basically what's going on here is this guy is trying to, and right now it's still, if Brett, last you checked, he still has not been reviewed. He has not been decided whether he meets this criteria or not. So this brings up the larger question now, and be very interested at Golic and Wingo what people think about this. We keep talking about players, are being used for the colleges that are making billions and millions and billions of dollars in all, and colleges millions of dollars. They get nothing in return. They can't make any money. So give them their freedom, let them transfer and play right away. And so the NCAA did that under these mitigating circumstances. So now, what do we think of players if they want to play right away, starting to kind of, let out what's going on a little bit? Because there may be some people that say, well, wait a minute. That school and those coaches are doing illegal things. Those players are just bringing it up. Again, a few $100s for unofficial visits. That's illegal. If there's a 2-hour practice and they're going 3 hours or more, that's not supposed to be happening. There's also a workout stipulation. You can't work out the student athlete from after 9 at night before 6 in the morning. They had captains workouts at 5:30 in the morning. So again, against the rule, but one of those things you kind of just say, okay, this is no big deal. So are we okay with student athletes bringing up these types of things? And I'm sure some people will be. Say, yeah, bring it to light that these guys are cutting corners and cheating a little bit, and let the players go play somewhere else if they want to play somewhere else.
But this isn't altruism. It's not like this player is a whistleblower for the sake of shedding light on this cause. The one thing in there that was interesting was
he's using it he wants to use it for his own benefit.
Right. The one thing
which I have no problem with, by the way.
Well, I guess this is it. Like, the one thing in there that would be interesting and to me worthwhile is if the athletic training staff wasn't taking proper care of a guy's injury, that's the one thing you hone in on and saying, all right, that's a serious detriment if guys aren't being cared for properly. But all this basically points to the NCAA didn't want to go full bore and say you can transfer without penalty.
Right.
They wanted to get a rule in there that gave the appearance that they were, giving you progress. And they got called on it. They got called to the mat by something the coaches aren't going to stand for now. This rule's going to change quick. Coaches don't want to deal with this.
And really quickly, because you did mention the one that is the important thing. If you feel that your injury wasn't treated properly, you said he had a bad ankle, said the trainer gave him 4 ibuprofen and said go back and practice. He continued running sprints, practiced for the rest of the week, and his ankle stayed bad and was swollen and blown up, so he doesn't feel he was treated right. That's so his well-being there. So that was one of the things he brought up as well.
Listen, you say, Junior, that, this will change very quickly. If it does, that almost makes it worse, right? That almost makes it worse. Well, we can't have that because look what happens, and some things may be found out of us, so let's quickly erase that. I feel like that would make it even worse. And people are like, well, wait a minute. Why are you doing that now? I agree they probably want to, but if that happens that quickly because of something like this, it's just going to stink even more.
I mean, but this is how the game goes. Like, this is who calls the shots in college football. We always say, well, it'd be so difficult to change all these things. No, it's difficult because they don't want it to happen. When it's something that people want to happen, it is amazing how quickly the winds of change turn.
So I guess my question out there, so we were in it in doing this. For those out there that weren't, do you have a problem with a player? Now, again, he's not doing this to, I'm here to help all the other players, because we're out there a half hour early or have to work out a half hour longer. This is for himself. Do you have an issue with that? Do you have an issue with a guy doing it this way? Because, listen, you and I have been part of this. Having a 2-hour practice that's supposed to be 2 and goes longer than that. Going, practicing at 5:30 in the morning, for those morning drills and doing those things. The little things like that coaches will get away with and players will do without even batting an eye because you want to be a good player as well. You're willing to do some of that extra stuff. So you wouldn't even think about saying anything. Now, if you had an injury that wasn't treated correctly, certainly that's something you would bring up. But those other things that are brought up to help him play somewhere else, would you have a problem with that? I'm really interested to know if people are out there saying, yeah, screw that school. The player should have the right to go play where he wants. And if he has to whistle blow a little bit to get what he wants, so be it. Or, hey, man, what are you doing? I mean, come on. You're trying to get this program in trouble for a half hour earlier workout or an hour more of a workout. I wonder where people will go with this.
I feel like we've gotten a bit more empathetic to the player side as of late.
Yes.
Would you not?
Yes.
That's the one thing as we've had, because we had that pay for play argument, it seems like once or twice a year. Yep. And as we've gone on, a lot more people have warmed up to the idea. And so it's interesting because I look in this situation, it's one of those things where I always ask people, what would you do? Like, if this is your future and you're that kid and you've got a chance to get on the field now, you've got a limited window of time to go do this, how are you not going to max that out? You're really, in my mind, just exposing flaws in the system as opposed to anything else. Like, this is a flaw in the system if you are put it and all of a sudden you've got this loophole. It's a leverage play.
Already, you hear from people who say, oh, these kids are soft. If it's not going well for them, they just want to transfer somewhere else. My thought on that is you got 5 years, man. Yeah. You got 5. In a rare case, you have 6 years. But you basically have 5 years to do your thing. So if you feel you need to move around occasionally, so be it. You move around occasionally.
Look, you're exactly right. Are they saying coaches are soft when they leave to take a better deal for more money?
Yeah. Well, how many times has Taggart moved in the last couple of years?
He's coached 3 teams or 4 teams to bowl games and only be able to coach them in one of them because he moved on. So. By the way, you guys were making incredibly lucid points on a very interesting and layered and nuanced topic. I wasn't watching any of it or listening to any of it because someone has photoshopped on our Twitter feed Junior's face over Baker Mayfield in the underwear ad.
Oh, there you go.
It
Allie
is phenomenal.
did that.
Allie did that. So really, you guys were insightful, interesting, intelligent, curious. Didn't hear a word of it.
Lost it.
I was just looking at Junior's face on Baker's body with the Tiger and the Rolls Royce, not the Bentley.
And I'd be able to make money off my underwear ad now because I'm no longer a student athlete.
Oh, see, there you go.
So, there you go.
Mike, you think this rule changes?
in a hurry. And I mean, they'll be able to sweep it because we're almost to the season, so this won't come up until after the season.
Do you think this player wins the waiver and is able to play this year?
That's going to be the real one, because it changes quickly if they decide this is going to go through, which I have to imagine the attention that this is going to draw. They're probably going to pass this through and try and get this done in a hurry too, right?
Well, we'll see. And then that may raise some more questions about why exactly are we changing this now? Golic and Wingo remind you to grab your tickets for the Northern Trust in Paramus, New Jersey for Friday, August 24th. Come watch our show before taking in a day of championship golf. All right, coming up, they say there's always another fish in the sea, but for us, there's only one. That's our researcher, Brett, who tells us the etymology of phrases like, there are other fish in the sea, in a segment we call, and you know, as Bretymology.
To give batters a different look, pitchers throw a changeup.
Your idea of a different look is sunglasses.
That's true. But La Quinta Inns and Suites is really taking the different look thing to a new level.
Definitely a major league makeover, starting with a bolder, brighter lobby full of comfortable spaces to let you settle in.
Or chill out in front of a big flat screen like Wingo would.
Oh, you know it. It's a changing La Quinta look to help you get in the zone and look sharp when you hit that big meeting.
Prepare to win at business with La Quinta Inns and Suites.
Book now at LQ.com.
It's the game show segment that's captivating a nation.
The origin is Latin, and it has been sort of corrupted over time.
Like this show.
Making everyone that hears it smarter.
In the 1800s, English authors were likely to partake in opium den activities.
Now, with your host, researcher Brett.
Take a guess where that came from. Brett's got your answer.
It's Bretymology.
Here are the categories. Words and their meanings. That's straightforward.
Sports Center brought to you by Odor Eaters. It's summer. We're all about to be very active and on our feet this season, so make sure you tackle foot odor before it starts with new Odor Eaters Charcoal Foot Scrub. Pick some up at Walmart, CVS, Kroger, or Dollar General. Start fresh. Stay fresher with Odor Eaters.
All right, here we go. It is time for Bretymology, where our researcher Brett comes up with some phrases that we all use, and we have to figure out where they began and how they got there. Here are the official Bretymology standings. Hot Take Collins remains perfect. 4 for 4, 100%.
Right.
I am now up to 72%.
It's really impressive.
Thank you, sir. 43
really
for
is.
60.
Yeah.
Jason Fitz, 67%, a smaller sample, 8 for 12. Junior, 21 of 40 at 53%. You are right down the middle, my man.
Yeah.
50%, 30 for 60.
I'm average.
And Meanakeim's Chris Canty and Adnan are also 52 for 4. Jeff Saturday and Field Yates, who will join us later, by the way. Lowering up the totem pole at 1 for 4. Okay, Brett, what is our first phrase?
Wait for the other shoe to drop.
Aha!
Is it from Las Vegas? Blackjack tables specifically. Casinos began implementing multi-deck shoes in the 1960s as a way to combat card counting in blackjack, which was relatively easy to do when it was one deck per table. Those who felt that the cards were not on their side in the new format would simply stop betting, waiting for another shoe of cards to drop in the hopes that their luck would swing back with it. The practice died out fairly quickly when people discovered the odds didn't actually change, but the phrase stuck around. Or is it from apartment buildings in the 19th and 20th centuries New York City? Probably heard of it. Tenement-style housing made for identical floor plans stacked on top of one another. Waiting for the other shoe to drop is a reference to your upstairs neighbor. When they get home and take off their shoes, you can hear one of them hit the floor, so you know that the next one is close behind it.
And again, one of those is fake. So once again, Brett, you're a genius.
The Vegas one is so good. I always thought it was better odds if you had more decks, but it turns out it's not, because I like the 6-deck shoe. I'm going to go with 2, though. I think I'm going with 2.
Yeah, I just feel like that's one of those phrases that have been around a long time. Yeah. So I think it's a tenement housing thing, too. I'm going 2.
All right, we're fading Golic, so we're all going with 1.
You're going 1? Yeah.
Number 2.
Hey, there you go. Off and running. All right.
Check.
Your next phrase, wild goose chase.
Wild goose chase.
Is it from Jonathan Davis's 1909 outdoorsman brochure entitled Hunting of Bow and Rifle, a Small Game Trapping Guide? In a section on Appalachian bird hunting, Davis warns against the tall task of going after Canadian geese because, as we are all intimately aware from ESPN's campus, geese are really mean.
That's true. That is true.
Quote, despite their attractive size, pursuing wild geese can be an ineffective or even dangerous chase, as the flock will attack a man or a large hound who disturbs its nesting ground. Or is it a 500-year-old sport? The wild goose chase originated as a strange equestrian event in the 1500s, which was written up in the 1593 book A Discourse of Horsemanship. The rules of the event are laid out in a very long, very confusing passage, but it's a race in which the horses are arranged in a V formation to imitate migrating geese in the air, and various point totals are awarded for the horses in the back, passing those in front of them.
Wow.
Oh, my God.
A brochure?
A brochure, something from the 1500s.
I'm going to. I'm going with the old one.
You know,
I don't feel good about it.
That first one was so detailed.
It was.
But he does this thing where he'll do like 3 in a row that are one.
Yeah.
One number not there. I think I'm going 2.
We think that second one was horse you know what. We're going 1.
We're going 1.
Number 2.
Yay! There we go.
We're getting dumped on.
There you go. The room is getting destroyed.
2 more.
Train of thought.
We've never had one of those on this show, so I'm very curious as to how this works out.
Is it from the legendary English philosopher Thomas Hobbes, who is responsible for a variety of concepts that still underlie modern society, especially politics? Hobbes lays out the concept of the train of thought in his masterpiece, Leviathan. Quote, "By consequence or train of thoughts, I understand that succession of one thought to another, which is called, to distinguish it from discourse in words, mental discourse." Or was it coined by friend of the program, Bill Shakespeare? In his 1594 play, The Two Gentlemen of Verona, the character Proteus addresses his love interest and tells her that basically she's ruining his life. Quote, "Thou, Julia, thou hast metamorphosed me, made me neglect my studies, lose my time, war with good counsel, set the world at naught, made wit with musing weak, heart sick with train of thought."
Again, one of those is fake.
He can throw together a rhyme, can't he?
Well, Bill Shakespeare, we're not sure if he existed. So
Stop it. I'm going with 1, though. I'm not going with Bill on this one.
I like the word Leviathan in anything.
I do, too.
I'm going 1.
Yeah. What are you guys doing?
Room, what do you got?
Yeah.
I guess we're going to keep fading Golic. We're going to go with Billy Shakespeare, number 2.
Number 1.
Yeah! Yeah! All right, you guys are being shut out. We're both 3 for 3.
Woo!
Old guys, baby.
Right. The smart guy out.
Oh, yeah.
1 more.
Your final phrase, dead ringer.
All right.
Whoa. Is a dead ringer a legend more than 200 years old? A rumor spread in England in the early 1800s about people being accidentally buried alive and later found with scratch marks inside the coffin.
Oh.
The fear of being buried alive resulted in an invention called the safety coffin, where a bell above ground was tied to the corpse's wrist so that if they were not in fact dead, their movement would ring the bell, which is also where we get the term saved by the bell. The coffins were never actually used, but a dead ringer became a slang term for somebody who was so convincingly dead that they could be buried alive. Or
in a minute, we only have a minute.
Is it a horse racing term from the late 1800s? First, we have to understand the words involved. Ringing, in this case, has nothing to do with bells, but ring was a synonym for exchange. Dead was not life or death, rather exact. So a dead ringer was a horse that was secretly subbed in for another horse in a race, but it looked enough alike that nobody would notice.
I want it so bad to be the corpse is buried with a string around its wrist, but I don't believe it. I'm going with 2.
I have heard of this before. I think it's 1.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's 1.
Golic Jr. thinks it's 1 as well. Yeah. So in continuing fading Golic, we're going 1.
Number 2.
Yeah! Perfect! 4 for 4.
Woo! Yes!
Wow.
Woo!
Good job out of you.
Woo!
We have today's winner. Congratulations. Well done, Golic. The room, you're terrible. Coming up, a homecoming, a jolt for the Cubs, and we'll play the field. Oh, yeah.
Hey, son.
That's next. Golic and Wingo.
You stink.
Ricky always wanted to play baseball in the majors. He was playing catch before he could walk, practically lived in the batting cages. He was behind home plate more than he was home. And one day, after all that hard work, he found himself walking into a Major League Baseball